This bill is quite possibly nearly 500 pages long. We could possibly become the most regulated state with this bill. I know that's a goal. I know it's been pushed forward, and I congratulate the sponsors on figuring out a way to push us over the top so Colorado can be the most regulated state. And so why do I say that? The accessibility provisions within the International Building Code, so I'm not appealing to the entire building code, just the accessibility provisions, are primarily found in Chapter 11, which is relatively short. It's wafer thin, typically spanning 15 to 25 pages, depending on the edition and the formatting. However, the IBC relies heavily on the separate ICC A117.1, accessible and usable buildings and facilities, standard for the detailed technical requirements. This standalone standard is much more comprehensive. Based on the 2017 edition, the ICC A117.1 standard is 469 pages long. The length can vary slightly between editions. The commentary version is 420 pages. So if you actually want to understand what the 469 pages say, you'll probably need the additional 420 pages, which are also regulatory. So if there's a discrepancy, so you actually have to know both. So really, this might be closer to 1,000 pages, well, a little over 900. So this bill, so why wouldn't the sponsors go through the International Building Code and just bring in what it is that we want, instead of over 900 pages? So this bill right here is committing Colorado to an additional 900 pages of accessibility code. And you want to pretend that that's going to be affordable. Now you need builders that are up to speed with that code. You need inspectors who are up to speed with that code. But at least you'll be able to say we're number one in terms of being the most over-regulated state in this union of states. So, do those add costs? Yeah. So we have to get, and then what do we have here? We have an escape valve, because, I mean, we all know the rich don't pay taxes, they pay politicians. And here's a good one right here. The government unit responsible for the enforcement of Article 5 shall grant exceptions or modify any particular standard or specification. The government unit responsible for enforcement determines if it's impractical or would create an undue hardship. I wonder how much that exemption costs. So that organization with political favor gets to build. That organization that is not in political favor gets no exemptions. Because this is not an even, this is recognizing that this is an undue burden on the citizens of Colorado, and it gives an escape valve. It gives a loophole for cronies. This is just another crony socialism bill. It will block affordable units. First and foremost, it will block affordability. Because this is not going to end here, for one. But one, for all of those accessible units, they are going to have to have people that are in the know about 1,000 pages of international code. And you can read all about it here. because we have our own part on here, type A dwelling unit, 6 points, A multi-story, 5. So basically this, this creates a game where the developers have to figure out how to balance their price points. They have to figure out how to circumnavigate, or they just use this little leash here, this little thing here, and pay somebody for an exemption. Now, there's lots of ways you could do it, possibly. You could provide tax incentives. If you make an accessible unit, you don't pay taxes on that unit. It's easy. There's no mandates. The builder can adjust. You could make all accessibility products, you could make them all tax-free. Because maybe if all the doors that had to be 30 inches wide could be purchased without tax, then there would be an incentive to make all your doors 30 inches wide. And you'd solve a lot of those problems. But instead, you figure out how to make the most punitive method possible to impose your fees, your feels, I'm sorry. You find the most imposing, regulatory intense, expensive way to impose your feels on the builders of Colorado, and then you'll say, gee, I wonder why we're not building.